Hello students, welcome to Real Academy. My name is Rajendra Chaudhary and I'm a maths faculty over here. Today we'll be discussing the topic section formula. Now it is a part of a vast topic that is coordinate geometry. Okay, you know this because you have studied it in your 8th standard, 9th standard and now again in 10th standard we have a new subtopic of the vast topic that is coordinate geometry. In your 8th standard we learned how to plot a point ऑन अ ग्राफ पेपर. ठीक है, हम लोग एक्स एक्सिस एंड वाई एक्सिस जो दोनों कोऑर्डिनेट एक्सिस है, 2 डायमेंशनल कोऑर्डिनेट एक्सिस, ऑन द पेयर ऑफ दोज एक्सिस वी यूज टू रिप्रेजेंट अ पॉइंट. ओके, तो किसी भी पॉइंट को प्लॉट करने के लिए व्हाट आर द टू थिंग्स दैट यू नीड? सो यू नो दैट एब्सिसा एंड कोऑर्डिनेट. व्हाट इज एब्सिसा? एब्सिसा इज द एक्स कोऑर्डिनेट ऑफ द पॉइंट and ordinate is the y coordinate of the point. So by now you already know how to plot a point on the coordinate axis. So on the screen you can see x axis and y axis, correct? Suppose these are the markings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on, and on the y axis in the upwards direction we have positive side, correct? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on. So if we have to plot a point, let's say 2, 3, how do you plot it? 2 is the abscissa, okay, 2 is the abscissa, 3 is the ordinate. You know how to plot this point. 2 will be on x axis, correct, and 3 will be on y axis. So this is the point where the projections of 2 from x axis and 3 from y axis will intersect. This is your point 2, 3. Now these are the very basics of coordinate geometry which you know, correct? And also in the 9th standard we studied a formula called as distance formula. Okay, so distance formula is also part of coordinate geometry. What was that formula used for? So distance formula is used to find the distance between 2 points on the coordinate axis. For example, this is 1 point 2, 3 and I give you another point on the same coordinate axis. Let's say 7, 1 or 1, 7. Okay, how do you find out the distance between these 2 points? One method is use a scale and measure it. Otherwise, if you don't want to draw the graph, if you want to avoid doing this, there is a direct formula for that, that is called as distance formula. Now this year is not about distance formula, you already know it from your 9th standard. This year we are going to study something called as the section formula. So before studying the formula, you must understand why it is used. Okay, so what is the use of section formula? Let me just erase this stuff from over here. Okay, now the word section literally means to divide, correct? So if I have 2 points on the coordinate axis, point A, suppose x1, y1, okay, point A, x1, y1 and some other point, let's say over here, point B, x2, y2. We don't know the coordinates, I've just assumed 2 points on the coordinate axis. Now we are discussing the purpose of section formula, correct? Section formula matlab kya hota hai? The point that will divide the line joining A and B. Suppose this is the point P, x, y, which will divide the line, make a section of this line in some particular ratio, let us say m:n, correct? It is dividing the line in a particular ratio m:n. So if the ratio is known to us, if these 2 points are known to us, section formula is used to find the exact point that will divide the line in this particular ratio. For example, this is point A, let us assume 1, 3. This is point B, let us assume 2, 6. Okay, and I'm telling you that there is a point x, y which divides this particular line in the ratio 2:1. Okay, or you can say 1:2 looking at the diagram. Okay, so if I've been given this much information कि ये point इस line को 1:2 ratio में divide कर रहा है, okay, and these two are the points that are the end points of the line, इस point को find कैसे करना है? For that purpose we use section formula. Now we will derive the formula. Correct? हम लोग देखेंगे कि कैसे ये formula हम लोग find कर सकते हैं. Let us see. We are going to find px comma y. We know that it is dividing this line in the ratio m:n. Correct? First, we will see point A. इसका x axis पे projection क्या होगा? Obviously, इसका coordinates है x1, y1. Correct? So this point on x axis, it is x1. Okay. Similarly, this point on x axis, if you project it downwards, it is x2. Correct? And similarly, if you project this point on the x axis in the downward direction, okay, this is x. Now, in the same way, we'll find the projections on y axis. This point on y axis is y1. Okay, this point on y axis is just y, and this point on y axis is y2. Correct? This much is clear to us. Now, let me just draw a triangle over here. Let's say this is one triangle. Okay, मैं इस triangle को कुछ नाम दे देता हूं. AP, let this point be Q. Okay, I'll draw another triangle over here. Give some name to this triangle also. This point is, let us assume, R. So we have two triangles here. Triangle APQ and triangle PBR. Okay. Now, we just need to find out the value of this x and y. For that, we will need to find out the lengths of these sides. Okay. Because we know that if these two triangles, they are similar triangles. Correct? Similarity ka concept is there in your textbook earlier to this chapter in triangles. Correct? You know, when do we say that two triangles are similar? There are multiple tests for that. In this particular case, we can say that these two triangles are similar because if you observe, both these angles are 90 and 90. Also, these lines are parallel lines. Correct? So, if these are parallel lines, okay, these two are parallel lines. If these are parallel lines, you can say that this angle and this angle, they are corresponding angles. They are equal angles. Okay. So, if they are equal angles, by AA test, we can say that these two triangles are similar triangles. In similar triangles, we also know one more thing, that the ratio of their sides is equal, corresponding sides. For example, if I take AQ upon PR, it will be equal to, AQ upon PR will be equal to PQ upon BR. Correct? Corresponding sides के ratio को equal होता है वो. And third side is AP upon PB. AP upon PB. Okay. So these three ratios will be equal because these two triangles are similar. Correct? Now we'll find out the lengths of these sides. How do we do that? See, this point till here it is x1. Okay. And till here it is x. So if I have to find this side AQ, you have to find this much length. Okay. Now if you observe clearly, x minus x1 will give me this side. Okay. This side is nothing but x minus x1. Similarly, if I have to find this side, okay, till here the complete length is x2. Okay. From this x2, if I subtract till x, I will get this length, that will be x2 minus x. Okay. So this is x minus x1. This is x2 minus x. In the similar way, for this side, BR and PQ, we can use the y-axis. Okay. Till here it is y1. Okay. We have to find this side. So till here it is y1 and till here it is y. So if I subtract y1 from this y, okay, if I subtract y1 from this y, this side will be y minus y1. Similarly, BR के लिए क्या करेंगे? We will subtract y from y2. Till here it is y and till here it is y2. So I have to find this much distance. It is y2 minus y. Okay, this is y2 minus y. And we already know these two ratios. It is m:n, correct, from the question. So now I'll substitute the values over here. AQ is nothing but x minus x1 upon PR is x2 minus x, okay, equal to PQ is y minus y1 upon BR is y2 minus y, and AP upon PB is m upon n, the ratio in which the point is dividing the line segment, correct? Now, if we have to find the point P x comma y, correct, we'll use these ratios to find the values of x and y, correct? All you have to do is pick these two ratios first and then these two ratios, correct? So let me just take x minus x1 upon x2 minus x equal to m upon n. We'll just solve this much to find the value of x, okay? So yahan se if we cross multiply, you will get n multiplied by x minus x1, m multiplied by x2 minus x, open the brackets, nx minus nx1 equal to mx2 minus mx, okay? Take the terms with x on one side and x1 on the other side, okay? x1 and x2 on the other side. So nx will stay here as it is, minus mx here will become plus mx, and this term on the other side will become positive nx1 plus mx2, okay? So from here you can take x common. If I take x common here, it will be m plus n that will be left in the bracket, and on the other side we have mx2 plus nx1. So from here you can say that the value of x, it's nothing but mx2 plus nx1 upon m plus n, okay? This, my friends, is the section formula. Now this is just to find out the x coordinate. If you do it in the similar way for y, you will get the value of y equal to m y2 plus n y1 upon m plus n, okay? This is the section formula. Once again, the purpose of this formula is to find the point x comma y which will divide the line segment joining these 2 points, a x1 y1, b x2 y2, correct, in the ratio m is to n. So I hope the point is clear to you. This is the section formula. Here one thing that you must remember, the most important thing, that in the question you will be given with 2 points. Let us say point A x1 y1, point B x2 y2, okay, and there is some point P dividing it in the ratio x comma y, and the ratio is x m is to m ulta bollo. There is some P, there is some point P x comma y dividing the line in the ratio m is to n, okay? So how to use this formula? In the question they won't mention x1 y1 and x2 y2. These are just for your assumption. In the question you will be just given some points 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you have to assume what is x1 y1 and what is x2 y2. Now the question is, how do you assume it? It's simple. If you select this to be x1 y1, okay, and x1 y1, and this to be x2 y2, you have to make sure that you use it properly in the formula. What is the formula for x coordinate? M x2 plus n x1 upon m plus n. Okay, this is the formula. So if you assume this to be m, your x2 has to be from here, opposite end, correct? If you assume this to be m, your x2 has to be from the opposite end. तो हमेशा बस ये ध्यान में रखना है कि if you assume this ratio to be m, this part of the ratio to be m, use the opposite end point as the value of x2, correct? So यहाँ पे formula में भी वैसे ही लिखेंगे हम लोग, correct? This is the only thing worth taking care while using this formula. So this is the section formula, my friends. I hope it is clear to you by now. Okay. Now let us take an example of how this formula is used and when to use it. Okay. For example, the question is that there is a point A minus 3 comma 3. Okay. And point B 2 comma minus 7. So you have been given these 2 points A and B, minus 3 comma 3 and 2 comma minus 7. And you've been told that there is a point P we don't know this point, so let us assume it to be x comma y, which is dividing the line segment in the ratio 2:3. Okay, now you know what the section formula is. We have to find this point which will divide this line in the ratio 2:3. So how do we do that? For x coordinate, the formula is mx2 plus nx1 upon m plus n. Okay, the ratio is m:n, 2:3. So if I assume this to be m and this to be n, if this is m and this is n, then the opposite end of m will be x2 y2 and the opposite end of n will be x1 y1. Okay, these are your assumptions. So this is how we will solve it. M is 2, x2 is 2, correct, x coordinate of point B, plus n is 3 and x1 is minus 3, the x coordinate of A, divided by m plus n, 2 plus 3. Okay, so the x coordinate will be 4 minus 3 3s are 9. Why minus? Because it is negative 3, right? Divided by 5. You will get minus 5 upon 5, which is minus 1. Okay, this is the x coordinate of this point. Similarly, we will find the y coordinate. Use the same formula, m y2 plus n y1 upon m plus n. Okay, here m is 2, multiplied by y2 is minus 7, n is 3, multiplied by again 3, the y coordinate of A, divided by 2 plus 3. Okay, so minus 14 plus 9 divided by 5. If you subtract this, you will again get minus 5 upon 5, which is minus 1. So the coordinates of this point, which will divide the line segment in the ratio 2:3, are minus 1 comma minus 1. Okay, this is how you use the section formula. Now it's not necessary that they'll always tell you to find out the point only. Okay, sometimes the point will be given to you and they'll ask you to find the ratio. Okay, but you have to use the same formula, different variants of the same formula. This is how we use the section formula. Now this is one use for this formula. Apart from this, there are some applications of this formula. We can derive a few more formulas using section formula. For example, okay, there are 2 points given to you, point A, x1 comma y1, and point B, x2 comma y2, and you are required to find the midpoint of the line joining these 2 points. Okay, find the midpoint of the line joining these 2 points. So let us assume this to be midpoint x comma y. We don't know this point yet, so we can use the section formula here also. How? Because if it is the midpoint of this line, the ratio becomes automatically 1:1. Correct? If it is the midpoint, both the parts are equal, so the ratio will be m upon m. Cancel, okay, 1:1. Correct? So we know the ratio in this case. That's why this formula will now become, if we use the section formula, m x2 1 into x2 plus n x1, again 1 into x1, upon m plus n. Okay, so what is the formula? x1 plus x2 upon 2. Okay, x1 plus x2 upon 2. The midpoint x coordinate is x1 plus x2 upon 2, and similarly y coordinate will be y1 plus y2 upon 2. This particular formula is called the midpoint formula, which is derived from the section formula itself. Correct? The midpoint formula is this: x equal to x1 plus x2 upon 2, y equals to y1 plus y2 upon 2. Okay, there is one more application. Correct? One more application of this formula is this, that we can find the coordinates of the centroid of any triangle if we know the coordinates of the vertices of that triangle. For example, this is the triangle ABC, x1 comma y1, okay, point B, x2 comma y2, point C, x3 comma y3. As you can see in this triangle, the coordinates of the vertices are known to me: x1 comma y1, x2 comma y2 and x3 comma y3. Now the question is how to find the centroid of this triangle. First of all, what is centroid? Centroid is the point of intersection of all the medians of the triangle. Okay, median क्या होता है? the line joining a vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. So if BC is the opposite side of A, this is the midpoint, this line is the median of this triangle. Okay, there are two more medians possible. For C, the midpoint of the opposite side AB, let us assume it to be point P, let us assume this to be point Q, and let us assume the midpoint of AC to be R. So the line joining C to P is another median, and the line joining B to R is the third median. So you can see that when a triangle is properly drawn, the medians will intersect at one particular point, which is called the centroid of a triangle. Let us represent it as G. Okay, and we need to find the coordinates of G. Let the coordinates be x comma y. We need to find x comma y. How do you do this? Now, I told you earlier that P, Q and R, they are the midpoints of these three sides, correct? So midpoint of AB, we just now studied the midpoint formula. What is the midpoint formula? So P के coordinates क्या होंगे? Point P is nothing but x1 plus x2 upon 2. This will be the x coordinate of P. Okay, midpoint formula use कर रहे हैं, nothing else. And the y coordinate will be y1 plus y2 upon 2. Okay, this is the midpoint of AB. Next, we have point Q. In a similar way, point Q क्या होगा? x2 plus x3 upon 2. Okay, and y2 plus y3 upon 2. And then we have the point R, which is the midpoint of AC, equals to x1 plus x3 upon 2 and y1 plus y3 upon 2. Okay, so we now know the midpoints again of all the sides. Now, if you know the properties of centroid, centroid हमेशा हर एक मीडियन को 2:1 रेशियो में डिवाइड करता है. This is a property of the centroid, correct? The centroid will divide the median of any triangle in the ratio 2:1 always, correct? तो ये पार्ट जितना भी है ऊपर वाला पार्ट उसका डबल होगा. Same for this median 2:1. Same for this median 2:1. It always divides the line in the ratio 2:1. So all you need to do to find the centroid is apply the section formula on any one of the medians. ठीक है, तो अगर मैं इस मीडियन की बात करूं AQ, let us apply the section formula. We need to find point G, correct? Point G is the point of section of AQ and it is dividing the line segment in the ratio 2:1. If I take it outside, see this median AQ, इसको point G जो है 2:1 रेशियो में डिवाइड कर रहा है, correct? What are the coordinates of point A? x1 comma y1. What are the coordinates of point Q? So अभी फाइंड किया हम लोगों ने x2 plus x3 upon 2 comma y2 plus y3 upon 2. So we know the end points of this line. We know the ratio 2:1. We need to find the centroid, which is x comma y, which is also the point of section in this line. So just use the section formula. क्या था section formula? Section formula में x का वैल्यू क्या होता है? mx2. That means 2 multiplied by the x coordinate of Q. So 2 multiplied by x2 plus x3 divided by 2. Correct? mx2 plus nx1. 1 multiplied by x1. So plus 1 multiplied by x1 divided by m plus n. 2 plus 1. That is 3. Now clearly 2 and 2 is getting cancelled. And the result is just x1 plus x2 plus x3 divided by 3. This is the x coordinate of the centroid of this triangle. Similarly, in the very same manner, y coordinate will be y1 plus y2 plus y3 by 3. Okay, तो ये हो गया centroid formula, where x1, x2, x3, y1, y2, y3 ये सब क्या है? Coordinates of the vertices of the triangle. So अगर किसी ट्रायंगल के तीनों वर्टाइसेस के कोऑर्डिनेट्स गिवन है क्वेश्चन में, you can easily find the centroid of that triangle using this formula. So I'll write this formula again properly here. Okay, centroid formula, x coordinate is x1 plus x2 plus x3 by 3 and y coordinate is y1 plus y2 plus y3 by 3. This is called the centroid formula. Okay. So this is it, my friends. We discussed today what the section formula is, and based on that we derived two more formulas. One is the midpoint formula and the other one is the centroid formula. So this is it, students. If you learned something new in this video, do like, share and subscribe to our channel. We'll bring up more such content in the future for you. Thank you everyone. Bye.